Good day, everyone. Today I want to talk to you about a profound concept, unconditional trust. It's easy to trust God when things are going our way, when we're getting good breaks, when our business is blessed and our children are healthy. That doesn't take much faith. Life is good and it's easy to be happy and trusting. But what about when things aren't going our way? When our prayers aren't being answered, the problem isn't turning around, and we're not seeing favor. Too often in these challenging times, we get discouraged. We question God, asking, "Why aren't you doing something? Can't you see I'm being mistreated? My health isn't good. I worked hard, but I didn't get the promotion." We think, when this situation changes, then I'll be happy. When I meet the right person, when my health improves, when we have this baby, then I'll have a good attitude. But that's conditional trust. We say, "God, if you meet my demands, if you answer my prayers the way I want, on my timetable, then I'll be my best." The problem with conditional trust is that there will always be things we don't understand, things that aren't happening fast enough, or situations that didn't work out the way we wanted. We might pray fervently for someone we love, quoting scriptures and asking God to restore their health, only to see them pass away. If we only have conditional trust, we'll end up upset and bitter, questioning God, "Why didn't you answer my prayers?" The truth is, God does answer our prayers, but sometimes it's not in the way we hoped for. Are we mature enough to accept God's answers, even when they aren't what we were expecting? God is sovereign, and we're not going to understand everything that happens. Faith is trusting God even when life doesn't make sense. There will always be unanswered questions. Why didn't my loved one make it? Why am I not getting better? Why did this person leave? Some things are not going to make sense, but God wouldn't allow them if He wasn't going to bring good out of them. You may not see it at the time, but God knows what He's doing. He has your best interest at heart. It's not random, it's part of His plan. Dare to trust Him. When we face loss, disappointments and bad breaks, these are all part of His plan. If we have conditional trust, we'll get discouraged and think, "Why is this happening? I'm going the wrong way." But God is still directing our steps. Trust Him when you don't understand. Trust Him even when it feels like you're going the wrong direction. You might think what you're going through is your darkest hour, but it could turn out to be your brightest hour, launching you into a new level of your destiny. Sometimes we want things so badly that we think we can't be happy unless it happens our way. I can't be happy unless I get the house, unless I meet the right person, unless we have the baby. That's out of balance. Anything you have to have in order to be happy, the enemy can use against you. It's good to be honest with God. Tell Him your dreams and what you're believing for. "God, this is what I want. I'm asking you to heal my loved one, turn this problem around, open these new doors." It's fine to ask, but then be mature enough to say, "But God, if it never happens, if I don't get the promotion, if my loved one doesn't make it, if my health doesn't improve, I'm still going to trust you." We can become so consumed with what we want that it becomes like an idol, dominating our thoughts and prayers. Turn it over to God, pray, believe, then leave it in God's hands. Don't get so focused on what you want that you miss the beauty of this day. Everything may not be perfect. There are things that need to change, but God has given you the grace to be happy today. It's very freeing when you can say, "God, it's in your hands. I trust you, not conditionally, if it works out my way, but unconditionally, even when I don't understand it." In the scripture, the Apostle Paul had what he described as a thorn in his flesh. It was something either physical or spiritual that he didn't like. It was bothering him. 3 times he asked God to take it away, but God didn't remove it. Paul was honoring God, being his best, writing half of the books in the New Testament. You would think God would fix what was bothering him, but God said, "Paul, my grace is sufficient for you." In effect, God was saying, I may not remove it just yet, but I will give you the grace to handle it. If God is not removing what you want removed, if He's not changing what you want changed, don't use that as an excuse to live sour and bitter. God has given you the grace to be where you are with a good attitude. You can enjoy your life in spite of what's not working out. Sometimes the reason our prayers aren't answered the way we want is because it's not the right time. Or God has something better that we can't see. Or perhaps He's using the difficulty to do a work in us, to help us grow and get stronger. Unconditional trust says, God, I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable, but I'm smart enough to recognize you're God and I'm not. You're on the throne. You're in control of my life. You said your plans for me are for good. You said you would lead me down the best path for my life. Even though I don't understand it right now, God, I trust you. Are you living frustrated and unhappy because something is not going your way? That's conditional trust. You'll live a lot freer and happier if you'll quit fighting what God is not changing. Quit being upset over what He's not removing. Paul said, I've learned how to be content. It didn't happen automatically. He made the decision, I'm not going to live sour because God hasn't removed this thorn. When He wants to remove it, He'll remove it. But until then, I'm going to be happy where I am, thorn and all. The truth is, we all have some thorns, things that God is not changing. He could, if He wanted to. He's God. All He'd have to do is speak, and that problem would turn around. That person would treat you right. It wouldn't be any big deal. But since He's not doing it yet, will you do like Paul and be happy where you are, thorn and all, trouble and all, loneliness and all? It takes a mature person to say, even though God is not removing this, I'm still going to have a smile. I'm still going to be good to people. I'm still going to give God praise. This is what happened with the 3 Hebrew teenagers in the scripture. They wouldn't bow down to the king's golden idol. The king was furious and was going to have them thrown into a fiery furnace. They said, King, we're not going to bow down. We know our God will deliver us, but even if He doesn't, we're still not going to bow down. That's unconditional trust. They believed God would turn the situation around, but even if He didn't, they were still going to honor Him. If you want to get God's attention, if you want Him to take you where you've never dreamed and turn impossible situations around, do like these teenagers. Have a statement of faith. I know God will deliver me from this fire, but then follow it up with, but even if He doesn't, God, I'm still going to honor you. I'm still going to be my best. When you live like that, you take away all the enemy's power. He's expecting you to get upset, to be worried, to fall apart if it doesn't work out. But when you have unconditional trust, you can't be defeated. You may have challenges that look bigger and stronger, and in the natural, you don't have a chance. Don't be intimidated. The forces that are for you are greater than the forces that are against you. The scripture says in Job, you will not be harvested before your time. You may get thrown into a fire, but if it's not your time to go, you're not going to go. God has the final say. Right now, He is working out His plan for your life. There may be some fiery furnaces. Are you only going to trust Him if He delivers you from the fire? If He takes away all the thorns? If He does it your way? Or are you going to have unconditional trust? Trust Him like these teenagers, even if He takes you through the fire. Looking back over our lives, things often don't turn out the way we thought. We might have a plan, and we tell God what to do, when to do it, what we need, who to use, and how to get us there. But God has His own plan, and what I've found is that God's plan is always better than our plan. His ways are more rewarding, more fulfilling, and bigger than our ways. If God did everything we asked, answered our prayers the way we wanted on our timetable, it would limit our destiny. We might not be where we are supposed to be. We couldn't see it at the time, it didn't make sense. But one day we learn, as Isaiah said, that God's ways are higher than our ways. His plans are better than our plans. Quit being discouraged over something that didn't work out the way you wanted. Don't live frustrated because maybe somebody left that you wanted to stay, or a door closed that you wanted open. God knows what He's doing. You may not see it now, but one day you'll see what God was up to, and you'll be glad He closed the doors. You'll thank Him for not answering those prayers. The longer I live, the more I trust God. I've seen Him open doors I couldn't open, close doors I tried to open, promote me when I didn't deserve it, and heal me when the doctors said there was no way. God knows what He's doing. Trust Him. In Genesis, Joseph had plenty of opportunities to live bitter and offended. He was betrayed by his brothers, falsely accused, put in prison, and his whole life seemed to be one unfair situation after another. He spent years in these places. He had done the right thing, but the wrong thing happened. He could have been sour, but Joseph had this principle. He trusted God unconditionally. He understood that God is a sovereign God. Even though it was unfair, he realized it was a part of God's plan. Years later, when Joseph saw his brothers, he told them, "You meant this to harm me, but God meant it for my good." When you have this perspective, it takes the pressure off. You won't live frustrated when things don't go your way. You'll know that God is directing your steps. He'll get you to where you're supposed to be. In conclusion, I encourage you to develop unconditional trust in God. Trust Him when things don't make sense. Trust Him when your prayers aren't answered the way you hoped, and trust Him in the midst of adversity. Remember, God is in control, and His plans for you are always for good. Let go of conditional trust and embrace a faith that says, "God, I trust you no matter what." You will find peace, joy, and strength in this unwavering trust, knowing that God is always working for your good.